Hi everyone, I am absolutely over the moon to have my beautiful friend Veda Austin here today. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with Veda's work. She's a water researcher, international speaker, author of a beautiful book that she published last year, The Living Language of Water. Well worth checking out on her website with all of her incredible crystallography pictures. She's an artist, she's a mother, and she very much photographs water in its state of creation, between really a liquid and a solid, between the liquid and the ice. So she is going to be sharing with us today something that's also new to me, I have to say, because I'm hearing it for the first time as well. But she is sharing it with the world here on this interview that we're doing right now. So I'm deeply honoured, Veda, that you chose this platform with me today to share this. And I just want to say that Veda is truly a beautiful person inside and out, with a huge heart for humanity. And so, welcome back again, Veda. So excited.
Oh, thank you, Pam. And reflecting you and your heart right back. I'm so excited to actually share this publicly because it's been something I've been holding on to, I think, for the last 8 weeks, 8 weeks only. And my life has been so changed for the better. So I'd love to tell you the little story of how I got into working with some of the most incredible people I've ever had the privilege of meeting that have been able to share information about water from perspectives that most of us could never have even dreamed of. So about 8 weeks ago, my husband and we watched or listened to the telepathy tapes. And our hearts were just blown open. And for those that haven't watched the telepathy tapes, I highly recommend that you do. But to give a little tiny bit of context, essentially, this was created because it was discovered that autistic non-speakers or minimal speakers are able to be telepathic with their parents or their carers, but also with one another around the world. Now, they've been able to, in my opinion, fully prove that within the tapes. They've done it in a scientific way, the best that they can, gone to incredible lengths to be able to prove this. But not only are these young people telepathic, they have access to other realms of consciousness, whereby an example would be one young woman was able to speak several languages, and one of those languages was hieroglyphs. And I have been working on a particular ice symbol that repeats over and over, especially in the last year and a half. And what's interesting about this symbol, and I call it a symbol, I actually call them hydroglyphs. So my work shares information in three specific ways. I can identify signature patterns. That means I can identify the type of water it is, like tap water or spring water or filtered water, based off repeated patterns. Then I have the art of water, which I say that art is the heart of water. And till now, most people know me from that work where I can put my hand in the water and freeze it using a special freezing method and see a hand in the ice. And then after that, there are hydroglyphs. And essentially, a hydroglyph is a symbol in ice that I need to have seen repeat at least 50 times using a written word language, a written word uh, in varied languages. So this has been able to give me essentially a kind of language or way of communication through the waters, and a way to read messages in water, essentially. And this is that particular area has taken me 6.5 years. And there's one symbol which I call the information hydroglyph, simply because that's what the design that shows up when I use that word in various languages. But interestingly, and this is why I started paying attention to this over the last year, particularly, is that whenever I whenever I see this symbol now, it doesn't always have to happen using a written word influence. It seems to happen 8 out of 10 times with me and with many people all around the world in all waters. And this is really something that I've started to pay attention to because this means it's a foundational, functional, symbolic or symbol of importance. Not just the way I know that it has this energetic meaning of information, which is very broad, but it looks just like coding. And the fact that people, all over are seeing it and showing me, I mean, I have thousands of examples, means that it is not something random. So I was very curious about the symbol. And I went down a track, and this is all going to link in with the telepathy tapes in a minute. I went down this avenue of trying to understand what is this the coding? What does it mean? And I want to give you a visual because I think that's very helpful for people to know what I'm talking about. And I'll show you just how much this coding looks like ancient language. So let's go down into my share and go from there. Um, Here it is. Okay. So this is the kind of coding I'm talking about. And you can see just how much it looks like basically hieroglyphs and cuneiform. These are two examples, but you can see that there is clear coding here. And when I was speaking at the annual water conference in Portugal last year, there was a gentleman in the audience that took a screenshot of this. I showed this as an example of my work and just how interesting it was that it looked a lot like ancient language. And he put it into AI, and AI was able to identify these two, but also identified in some areas hieroglyphs as well as cuneiform. So that was really interesting to me because I hadn't thought of ever doing that, but it gave me some confidence to start going, well, I think that there's more here. And so I kind of want to give you another example. So I have worked with AI for 2 days before I decided it was not the way to go. And I would rather work with biological intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. And I'm so glad I did because by making that decision led me on to the work I'm about to share with you. However, this is what I did get from AI, where AI was able to take the background out of this and put it into essentially a simpler version to see how much it looks like coding, just how much information is here. And I reduced it so far as I zoomed in further and further because it was rather overwhelming looking at that one because there's just so much there. And then I reduced it further and further. But essentially, there's just so much information that trying to understand what this means, like for example, I could take a little tiny piece right over here or something, and then try to figure out a word to see if it would repeat. And it would take me, lifetimes to try to figure this out. And there was a moment where I felt like this almost addictiveness that was happening whilst working with AI. And I was just like, the waters in me came up and go, this isn't the way. And I have to listen to the waters because they have guided me thus far to the places that water needs to reach, and I need to listen. So I made a massive pivot. And the the pivot was that I made this announcement when I was in the South Island on my book tour, the South Island of New Zealand, that I really had an intention to work with the autistic non-speaking community from the telepathy tapes. I knew I was going to meet Dr. Diane Powell when I am in the States in May, and so we had had a conversation about my work, and she was super interested in learning, what happens. But when I made this announcement at my book tour, there just so happened to be a lady from South Africa in the audience who was in the telepathy tapes in episode 10, telepathic for a couple of the young autists. And they do call themselves autists. So if you hear me say that, you know why. And she said, let me introduce you. And so since then, very, very rapidly, uh, I have been working with these amazing young people, and we started out uh, where I would show them images of the um, the information hydroglyph to see if they could help me understand them better. And there's a reason why you see on the screen doorways to consciousness, because I'll read you what some of them have said about that information hieroglyph, and then we're going to get into what they've said about astrology.
Fabulous.
So, so firstly, I want to show you the pictures that I sent them to start with. So I sent them sets of 12, and I'm speaking to them in varied ways. And with some of them, they're speaking to me telepathically through either their parent or through a telepathic communicator, or some of them are able to use a letterboard and also type. So, multiple ways. So you can see here are 12. Now, the funny thing about this one was that the first person I started working with was Sammy. And I had only sent 11 because this one wasn't really as clear as the others. And she said through her mum, she said, "Oh, you've missed. Tell Veda she's missed one out. She'll know which one it is." And I was like, "Oh my God!" She knew that there were always going to be 12, and she knew I'd left one out. So that was really like quite interesting for me. There's one I just would like to focus on over here. This particular one also came from asking if this was by the hand of God in my mind, hand of Creator. And that was my way I asked. And you can see the clear hand in the ice here.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So this was pretty special. And then these are the other 12 that I have sent. So you can see a clear repeatability within the type of patterning. And I wanted to show that for people. And you can see several of them look a lot like even ancient language. Like this one, it looks like something you would see in a tomb in Egypt, for example. So I wanted to ask them, what are these? Like, is it just some organic pattern, or has it got deeper meaning? I put my whole career in a way, I had to put everything that I have been saying that, what I think from my experience and put it to them and go, well, I'm putting everything I think I know to the side, and I'm totally open to hearing what you have to say, and I'm also open to being wrong. So that was a really vulnerable place for me. It turns out I have been on the right track. So I want to read to you what Sammy said when I asked her about this, and this is just a little piece of a much larger conversation. These young people have given me two two books worth of information on all manner of things. So relating to water. So Sammy says the general message of the images is about foundational structure to build or co-create the new. The images are like music, actually, sheet music to inform everything that is matter on the planet, that a cosmic cycle has closed and a new epoch is beginning.
Wow.
The way the lines are is like foundational structure at the pre-manifestation levels. And
Oh,
we're lucky enough to have Sammy's picture here. And Sammy told her mum that it's okay to share her picture because then people get to feel her and the other autists through the viewing of seeing her and also hearing her wisdom.
Yeah.
So
That's really beautiful, Veda. I mean, that's
yeah,
profound, isn't it? And so,
everything. It is very profound and I think very hopeful. So okay. Now this is from Daniel, and Daniel is truly a genius, incredible young man. And he says that from looking at the imagery from the information hydroglyph that I was talking about, he says they are doorways into another realm of consciousness. Each code is a doorway. Each little line is a doorway. And if we go back to how many lines there were, just incredible. He says it represents God consciousness experiencing itself as multiple doorways as God consciousness expresses itself through multiple humans. Veda is uncovering something that has not been seen before, which always surprises me, Pam, when I read that, because I've just assumed I'm just discovering something that was really ancient. So this was really news to me. She is unveiling a consciousness that is ready to be seen. But a direct translation is difficult because it is not writing as we know it. It is all multidimensional form. And one must take into consideration angles, colors, and the way the writing is connected. I want to focus on the word doorway because it is the best word I can give to what these hydroglyphs are offering. It is a doorway of a stream of consciousness. It goes deep into the cells of the body because our bodies are made up of water.
this really is genius level, isn't it? It's
So, Jean,
extraordinary. The way they express as well.
it is, I mean, oh my God, I feel sometimes like I'm doing my best to do justice for the brilliance and the savant level of genius that they really are. And so this was really helpful because um, I spoke to a lady called Caroline. People that have listened to the telepathy tapes will know who she is, and Kyle is the young man who is very musical. So I spoke to Caroline. She told me that when she showed Kyle the pictures and asked what they were, he spoke the word doorways. So there's a consistency of this word doorways coming throughout the community. Now, what's really amazing to me is that they are saying just by the viewing of these images, healing is being absorbed through our body. Many of them have different messages. One young man was saying that there was one particular picture that he was printing out and hanging up in his room, but he would only have it up for one day because it was so loud. It had there was there was noise, sound that came from it, but that particular picture helped him to uh, manifest something within his life. And he said, but only to have it up for one day. There is some that are particularly healing. And within this knowledge now, I'm starting to um, realize that I can ask them which of the pictures would be best for someone with high anxiety to meditate upon. What about someone who is very sick with perhaps cancer or something? What about someone who has been very depressed? What pictures could help them through the viewing of this imagery? There is practicality further than I understood within this particular type of coding, and it is coding according to them. It's undoubted that it is coding. So I think you know, Pam, this is my one of my number one questions. I've been asking it forever, and for anyone that hasn't ever seen me before, it's so easy to say, well, water is H2O, or what is a drink, or what it takes away our waste, and we bathe in it and whatnot. But within even H2O, you could say. well, the two hydrogens are feminine in the mode of levity, and the large oxygen is masculine in mode of gravity, and together they create liquid water in balance on Earth. And that's a pretty amazing thing. But when I found out that water is really only one part matter, and the matter is the two hydrogens and oxygen, and the rest is photonic light, which makes water a lighthouse, and that there are more water molecules in our bodies than all the stars in the perceivable universe, and yet we really haven't studied water at school more than the hydrological system. And so this question of what is water has been just so pivotal for me to investigate further and further. So I was so excited to ask the autists this question. And Mikolai so beautifully said, he said, to ask the question, what is water? One must ask, what is the creator before form? Like, oh my God. He went on to say some of the most profound things. Um, I'm working on my PhD, and this is a huge piece of what is going to be in there. Then we asked Sammy, and she said, water is a redeemer. It washes away much like source cleansing you. The mysteries of water will dazzle you and dazzle humanity. It indeed reflects Source Creator, sentient consciousness. It's the hall of records and the hall of mirrors. It knows all your secrets.
It's just so poetic, isn't it? It's
The way they speak is there's a certain style. There, I heard them talk about that in the telepathy tapes, and I've seen it for myself. This is Noah. He's become my friend, and Noah said something that I think is one of the most beautiful ways to describe water. He said, water is the expression of the Creator's first love. It is a being that Creator never wants to separate from. Therefore, it's in everything. It's love. Oh, I couldn't really have said that better myself.
yeah, that's just so beautiful, isn't it? And we're
Yeah,
full of it. We're full of love because every
we're
cell
full of
in our
love.
body it contains water, as you say so well, Veda. So that we are beings of love, if that's the
We
case.
are.
It's beautiful.
And then this is Adriana. So this is Noah's sister. She says it's water, it's embedded in everything. We see water's essence in the watermarks. Is the energy not still there? Do we not see that water has been there? We can still feel it. Can you not hear the water in a shell? Even after the water is gone, the water still echoes. So therefore, I would say that yes, indeed, it is a sentient being. I have been very reluctant over my many, many years of doing this work to say things I'm not sure about. I tend to say, well, this is my guess, or I think this, but I don't know. Uh, but across the board, they are all saying that water is a sentient being.
And also they're strong in their expression, aren't they?
They,
It has strong conviction. It isn't just philosophizing. They are very determined about what they're saying here, which is beautiful.
there's they're so wonderful and easy to work with because there's no umming and ahhing. There's just a direct message.
Yeah.
There's no overthinking that's not going on. They just tell you the answer.
Mm,
And they try their best to explain it, but they have this wonderful way of making complex things simple,
yeah.
which is a very high level functioning person that really understands a topic that can do that. But they are accessing um, these conscious realms where like they have access to what I would say would be like the Akashic records. And I am so grateful that they are working with me too, because it's a very humbling experience because I really didn't know if they would. I just knew that I would love to. My husband and I, we was just our hearts were so blown open, and we had that thing where Ryan he just said to me, "Imagine if you could ask, the autistic community." to help you. And I was just so lit up by that idea, and so it just evolved from there. So, Elsa, one of the questions is what I'm about to do. This is the one of the most incredible young women I had the privilege of meeting. Her name is Elsa. She is a non-speaking um, autist, but she's very, very uh, gifted because she is telepathic. And the lady up here, this is Melissa. Melissa is her telepathic communicator, but in this particular little clip, Melissa wasn't communicating what she was saying because Elsa is using a letterboard and is pointing out the letters that she's speaking. Um, Elsa wasn't feeling 100% on this day, but she can also type. So she is able to communicate what she's saying herself really, really well. And she is genius level for sure. But the what she said is so beautiful. And after this, I just said to her, I couldn't have said this better myself. I'm asking her the question of what is water? This, what is water?
She says G, you gotta look at the word O, D, God is in the Water.
God is in the water. And what's so beautiful and profound about hearing that was that if anyone's have read my book, I talk about a young girl that fell into a pool, and her dad had to save her. And I think she was like 3 or 4, maybe something like that, quite young, 4 years old, I think, somewhere around that age. And when her dad was able to talk with her, the little girl, she said, God is in the water and he's big. And that touched me, and I had to put it in the book. And to hear Elsa say the same thing, um, I think we need to start to listen to this and start to go, what do they mean by that? What is this relationship between water and the creator? I think one of the most extraordinary things with this community is that by being able to work with this topic of water, they are able to also bring in the topic of creator because they seem so intimately intertwined. And I have been saying this for years, and to hear it echoed back in their voices is is it makes me feel really happy
Must have been
to put it in a very
thrilling for you to have that validation. But water is everywhere, isn't it, Veda? I mean, it's in our air everywhere as water droplets. It's everywhere in the cosmos. And the
absolutely.
other planets just spew water, don't they, into the plasma, and the water on Earth is billions of years old and comes from other galaxies. I mean, it's just a constant interconnection through the water because the water's carrying
Well,
light.
absolutely. And across the board, all of them independent. Well, we think they're independent, but apparently well, not apparently. I don't mean to say apparently. Actually, they all say that they meet on a perhaps psychic plane that they call the hill, where they communicate, they learn from each other, they have friends. And so for me to say that independently, they say the same thing, it's like, well, they're all communicating as a whole in many ways. They all know what one another are doing. They have this relationship with one another.
Seem to have a
And I've
sense
been
of
told,
divinity, Veda. They have a sense of divinity and a sense of agreement across the board about water is God. That's coming through with all the answers you got. Yes.
well, what they're saying is that, well, yes, and yes, and they talk about water and creator. So they're not necessarily, they are and they aren't. He said that she said, God is in the water. So it's like water is a container of creator. And I think there's this intimacy there of which we're just starting to like really feel out. And I and um, what they have said across the board is that there are 7 states of water. Now, here's what Elsa shared with me. I've kept some of the video very private because I'm still going through it. There's such high level information in what Elsa has told me. But I asked her, I said, well, some of the other autists have said that there are a certain number of states of water, and she was able to use her letterboard and was able to use the number 7. So all of them say 7 states of water. But what Elsa did was explain some of them to me. But the very first one she said, and I'm still thinking about it, because we're stuck on a liquid, a gas, a solid, and plasma. She said one of the states of water that we don't know about is thought. Thought is a state of water. And I'm just like, oh my God. Okay. And I'll leave it that because
Wow.
she went into states of water. She went into why clouds are so important and how they're in between. They're in between um, the earth and what we might the sky, and the significance of them. I can't wait to start bringing more of this out, but I'm still going through that interview because there's so much to integrate when you start realizing, firstly, that this is real. They are, in fact, um, what we might turn as it's just absolute genius in a body that simply doesn't communicate, or it doesn't do what they want all the time, which must be so hard and frustrating. But they want to help the world evolve, and they are here for this. Absolutely. And I'm just humbled to be working with such incredibly beautiful souls, and they are all love. There's no ego involved in any of this. There's no, they're just amazing. So let's move on to some astrology, Pam, because I know that I this one is very, very important. And so I was speaking a very long conversation with Noah and Adriana. Now you've kind of seen pictures of them both. And in this particular situation, it was mostly Adriana was answering the question. And what you're seeing is telepathy in real life. Uh, so you know what you're about to see. So Melissa is there, or was there, oh, sorry, telepathic communicator. They have a couple of telepathic communicators that are pretty incredible. I've been so impressed with Melissa because she's wow. I mean, when you see this, it really does go, oh my God, this is real, kind of a thing. I always thought it was, but to see it in real life is really quite incredible, especially when you see how they're interactive with one another. Uh, Adriana, Noah, and their mum were in a car and they were driving somewhere and they had a long drive. So uh, they are in a car and Melissa is somewhere else and communicating with both of them. So Adriana took this one over when asked about astrology. Now, what I've included is that Melissa also shared her take on astrology. So you'll hear Melissa talking first. And then afterwards, you hear Adriana coming in and sharing some pretty incredible information. So we're going to hear Melissa talk about what she thinks astrology is from her perspective and from her wisdom. And she's very, very tapped in as well. And then we hear from Adriana. Okay. So firstly, though, you haven't seen this, Pam. This was when Sammy's mum asked about astrology, I asked for you a couple of days ago, and this came through. So Sammy, she says, it's a language. It's a language of mathematical positioning to establish a soul trajectory for source to experience itself in creation. You might have to read that a couple of times. I can see there's some spelling mistakes in there too, sorry. Someday you will also know about cosmic astrology, where you identify mother galaxies that birth galaxies and stars. It's truly the macro to micro of soul experiencing itself as source, cosmic gateways into states of matter.
Wow, that is just sensational, isn't it? I mean,
It's
from a high level, isn't it? That she can clearly identify, that galaxies are being birthed all the time, that it's fractal and it's a continuous process. And, that is just extraordinary. Uh, can you send me that? Because I'd love,
of course.
I'll take a screenshot, actually. I'll take a screenshot from the video, but that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's so nice to be able to read it when they've written it out. She's just incredible. My children are going to school and the door just keeps slamming. Okay, right, let's see the video. A project that I've been working on with a dear, beautiful friend of mine, Pam Gregory, and she's an astrologer, and she is wondering how astrology works, or how the heavenly bodies affect this body of water, and how water is affected, or the water within humans is affected by the places in which different planets are aligned. And just so you know, this is Melissa, the telepathic communicator. This is Adriana, who's in the car and communicating with her. So Adriana likes to make some sounds sometimes, and I think it's good for us to know that, because the autists also don't want to be muted. They can make sounds, they can express themselves, and each one has their own way of sort of communicating, and it's part of the communication. So I just wanted people to hear that too.
So that one I can kind of explain. So when you look at like water on a base, when you bring it down cell to cell, a lot of them will have this imagery. That imagery is because of the fact that that is like the first structure that is actually designed around the planets. If you think about this, and this being maybe, the sun, and these are all different planets and extra planets. Each of these planets carry an electromagnetic frequency. All of the planets, and I've actually looked at this very, very structurally, is that all of them have a specific magnetism around them. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative, and some of them are neutral. When they turn, and as they're turning, it's actually changing the electromagnetic frequency. It's the place. It's changing where the energy is. So if you can think of a plasma ball in your hand around a plasma ball, wherever we change that energy is where that energy is going to be focused on, and it's going to be different within that globe, depending on wherever my hands are. If you're thinking about these planets, like each of these little squares, the rectangles, you can shift them, and then when you shift them, now look at there's another whatever is in this different frequencies you could see in different sounds and different shapes. As we turn this around, this symbol is going to sound different on every single level. So as the planets are spinning, and as our sun is spinning, and it changes the actual lighting, it changes where the tones are coming. So if a lot of Saturn is projecting their energy from this one spot, and this place has hollow grounds, and so it's just holding that energy there. If it changes, now the frequencies are coming out this way and pulsating there. So it's a change in where the connection is on everything. That is a global change of energy, because it would be like if we had a big Tesla coil or something, the energy would want to go around and would change and modify around that. Now, if you have 1,000 different Tesla coils and you move them, the shots of energy are going to be coming between. Now, Adriana is saying,
Just so you know, there's a lot of sounds coming from Adriana, and this is one of her ways. She's talking about frequency. She's putting information, and Melissa is receiving that. And I really want people to just feel like, okay, this is okay. This is one of the ways that she communicates, and each one is different. So the information is so important. And I know you need to listen just a little bit more because sounds are happening, but just bear with that.
yeah, so she does the frequency there, there versus right here. Now she's going to change a different tune at a different frequency. And so that energy is going to change. Now, if she started echoing our way as she did before, and then went AO in the other way, it would completely change the energy. But what it's doing is, so she wants to explain this to you. So if you try to put two sine waves together, then it ends up changing the wave structure. You could put a square wave and a triangular wave together, and once they come together, it's going to change. It might turn into a sawtooth wave, or the whole thing might turn into a square wave or the triangular wave. And that is because once the energies start to come together, that they have to formulate a new structure. And that's what's happening when the planetary system is happening, that is changing the energy structure. Now, this doesn't just happen within the air, it happens within everything. Water is very connected. And in fact, it was one of the big things that started this universe. It is connected to several different planets, several different stars, several different spots in the universe. And some of the water that we have in this world isn't even Earth's water, and that's why we're so connected. And as they connect, anything that happens out there is internally going to help, or is internally going to be affected, because that's just the grand scale telling the little scale what to do. And so therefore all of the water systems and all of the cell systems, all the cells that are going to be within anywhere, going to be affected and are going to be overtaken by that exact energy that is being spit out at that time. And it has to do with longitude and latitude, falling on certain frequency and light spectrums, but also what planet is coming into alignment with those other planets. Because if that planet is activated, let's say that it was planet XYZ, it just came into formation with Jupiter, and Jupiter is attached to us. Now we're picking up on energy from XYZ that has nothing to do with our planetary system. We are just exchanging information. Now, the interesting thing is, on planet XYZ, we understand that information. This is why we are losing some of our water. She's going on to even Mars. We're bringing the water up there. There was not any water that we had seen before we started discovering, but we've been looking and looking and looking for water. So we're consciously now putting water into Mars. It is now a conscious decision that Mars is making, and we're going to start to see more water, so we can transfer the water through our thoughts. We can transfer that energy, and therefore we're connected to all of them. And that's why the planetary and everything happen, and we have disruptions within our energy when we come into certain planets, because the water is the thing that is really between it all.
So it's amazing.
It's just phenomenal. It's like Pythagoras's, harmony of the spheres that he was writing about, a couple of thousand years ago, because I think it's already been picked up in space that each planet has a different sound and different pitch. And then, of course, you're working with the geometry between the planets. And it's when planets come into exact squares or triangles, as Melissa was calling it, trines or whatever, and the geometry is exact, that's when they have potency. But of course, it's also electromagnetic. And as the planets are spinning as well, that's creating another aspect of the electromagnetic frequency. So everything is moving and everything is interacting. And of course, that's happening to every cell in our body, isn't it? As Melissa said, it isn't just the out there, it's the in here, which is something, I've been talking about for a long time, and many astrologers have. It's the Hermetic principle, the micro and the macro. But what Adriana was saying at the end, that is our thought intention that has produced the water on Mars. I mean, talk about the power of co-creation. that we have, if our thoughts, our intention to get, look for water on Mars produces it. I mean, what a demonstration of our co-creating power that is. It's phenomenal.
I think that we're just starting to have the tsunami of changes starting to happen.
Yeah.
And I have seen more things happen in the last 9 weeks than in areas of water and science and consciousness and spirituality and all of these things than I can remember seeing in my lifetime. It has been absolutely extraordinary, and I want to just move on a little bit, and then I'd like to talk a little bit more about what Adriana was saying here. So I want to just kind of leave on some words of hope that Sammy has said to me, and that is her mum has shared with me. And I think they're words of hope for all of us, and also for those parents who are working with autistic non-speaking children, or children that are for whatever reason they aren't able to communicate. So I'll just read it. Sammy says, things that are out of tune and out of harmony will cease to exist because the power of all this is overtaking the planet at rapid rates and cannot be stopped. We're too far along in the process, and no one saw us coming. And the evil ones could not see our true potential, even if they tried to stop us with poisons. They did not know that they helped us stay out of the body and bring in something new.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm just ice. I'm just goosebumps from head to foot. I mean, the
Yeah,
wisdom of those words in these times, it is just off the scale, isn't it? I mean, that's
it's
deeply moving.
it is so potent and so powerful and so what we need to hear right now.
Yeah.
And it gives us hope that there's like this, they're almost like this team of angels making a difference out there, helping us, and that from what could be seen in the density of this world as something so terrible, is given them an opportunity to make massive change in this world. And just behind the scenes, I can say that they are making huge waves of change, and that for me, they have changed even, you know, so many ways in which I can now evolve this work. AI could never have taken me to the levels that these young people have. Never in a million years could I have even imagined that, firstly, that I have a number for the 7 states of water, and that thought is one of them. Like I have to contemplate that for so long, and that this wave of change is too far along to be stopped.
Yeah. The
And
astronomer
that,
supports that.
yeah, and then with what Adriana was talking about, basically seeding Mars with water. But what do we do when we're looking for life on other planets? We look for water.
Yes.
In the looking, it appears that we are also sending that signal to that planet to either accept or not accept, to start to build water on it.
Well, this is
I
the
mean, this is,
observer effect, isn't it? The observer effect in quantum physics, that what we're looking
yeah,
at becomes
yeah.
manifest.
And what we wants us. And and I think that on its own is some pretty and it's some pretty big stuff. I mean, to some people it might sound really out there, and that's also okay. But I think there's a lot we don't know. And what's happening is this sort of unveiling is starting to happen around the world, where we're like, well, you just there's some pretty big stuff going on in Egypt right now with the discovery of the 8 sort of long pillars under the pyramid. And the science is still coming out. I mean, that's still yet to be fully proven in a way that science is happy with, and all of that. But it's starting to look more and more like there is, in fact, some science there. And I think that is a huge discovery as well. And it's starting to see, well, gosh, or maybe it wasn't what we were taught in school in the way that, the Egyptians we were taught built the pyramids. I think the pyramid is kind of a giant red flag for that. But anyway, I can see with it's just it's easy to in some communities to say there's changes happening, can you feel it, but actually it's not just feeling it, we're seeing it. We're seeing change happening.
And I think pretty much, Veda, everything we thought we knew about history and science we're going to move on from that and discover some very different truths, because it's in my lovely conversations with Hope Fitzgerald, and she at Mount Shasta at Lionsgate last year with a group, she pierced the veil. And the actual words were, you've pierced the film and you've exceeded expectations, and the tear in the film will continue to open up. And this is a time of truth. And I'm going so goosebumpy repeating that for her. But you are now living it as the speaker of these incredible people. And as I was saying to you before we started recording, these autists really are very much exemplifying Aquarian energy as well, that we expected to come to the fore at this time, that people of exceptional genius, often young, are going to be off the scale in terms of previously having been shunned to the periphery of society. They are now going to be celebrated in their uniqueness as the savants and the visionaries and the wise leaders for us. And the way they express just has such a sacredness about it. There's such a divinity about it. And considering the lives they must have had with so much rejection along the way, they have complete humility and integrity in the way they express themselves, don't they? As you showed it to us today.
There's just so much love there. And one thing I would love to add, because across the board also, I hear this echoed with them all, is that it is not that they are extra special. They don't necessarily want to see it as different again. But you're not saying that. I mean, everything you said is true. But one of the things they're really trying to remind us of, is that we can do this too. We are able to access these realms. We are able to find that we can be telepathic. We can communicate in non-verbal ways too. We are energy. We are able to do all of these things, and they want us to remember that and to be reassured of that, and try to find ways where we can start listening. One of the beautiful things they said as advice was stop talking, start listening, observe, and serve.
Oh.
And so, I'm like, oh, we need that reminder. We need that reminder.
It's truly beautiful and very, very humbling, as you say. And I think it's remarkable that they are seeing and feeling energetically that this is an unstoppable process. Because again, I've been talking about that in astrology for the last 6 months at least, saying, we're now in the mush of the chrysalis. This is a one-way process, and it's unstoppable. So I'm seeing it in the astrology, but they are clearly living it and feeling it, which gives so much confirmation to where we're going and so much hope to all of us in this chaotic, crazy world. I mean, beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And they've chosen you as their speaker at this period in time. And, what an honor.
I mean, I'm just lucky enough to have been, that they're so happy to work with me. I think they're I don't know. I'm sure that there are other people sharing what's been said, and I know they have their communities and they're trying to get their word out there. But I've made them a promise, and the promise has been that I will do everything I can in my ability as a public speaker and as a genuine person to be able to have their voice heard. And I realize that for some people, the way that their bodies work or sounds they make or things that can be like maybe make them feel a certain way. But when you hear what they say and you see, imagine what it's like for them to be in a body that just doesn't do what you want. And it's just like, gosh, and the genius that comes from them. It's just incredible. And I want to take my hat off and my to their parents and caregivers too, who have believed in them all this time and know there's somebody in there, and the relief it must be to know that there are ways now for them to communicate. And I am very grateful to the people that Kai Dickens and Dr. Diane Powell, and everybody that put the telepathy tapes together for bringing this out to the world, because it is the paradigm shift, or at least one of them, that we are seeing in our lifetime right now.
Yeah, and this is going to accelerate, but you are one of the big voices in the world, Veda, because of your very large following to help to get this out to the public and change our view and start to feel excited about what these wonderful people are sharing with us about where we're going and to reconnect us to our divinity. I mean, it's so ironic, isn't it, with the lives they must have experienced to date, that they are reminding us of our divinity when we've lived very privileged lives, probably in contrast to their experience to date. So, wow, I mean, it is utterly humbling. It's very beautiful work, Veda.
Thank you. I mean, there's just endless amounts of notes that I've got from them all, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on of like, there's just so much there, and then all of the videos. And I am looking forward to being able to like bring more out. Even just somebody else, this was recent, where it's saying this. I haven't read this to anyone yet, just because it just came through the other day as well on like a group chat that they had, and the question was about water. And this girl, she's 8 years old, Mishka, 8. An 8-year-old said, water is a transducer of light information to carry codes for our body and stabilize our field. Once water is healed, it will also clean up radio frequencies misused on Earth. Like, oh my God. Okay. Uh, right. Luke at 16, he says the water molecules do matter because the intention of the hydrogen and oxygen are encoded by source to support and maintain life. These molecules are made to work with and support the water spirits and devas. And Lucy, who's also 16, says water is love imprinted with wisdom of creation. Many lessons are held in water so that the Akashic records would not be necessary if you worked with healed water. In fact, the Akashic records are sustained in a semi-etheric state of water, that space where matter, ether, and the breath act as one. I mean,
I mean, it's just absolutely mind blowing. It's just
yeah.
absolutely mind blowing. I'm going to have to watch this video several times over, I think, Veda, to really kind of integrate what you're sharing here, because it's so high level.
I mean, trust me, I'm still integrating a lot myself. But there's a lot also. They talk a lot about Egypt. I'm going to be going to Egypt in November. I've got like a primordial water tour with a friend of mine, Patricia, and we're going to different sacred sites. We're going to the pyramids, and we're going to go into the Osiris shaft, which is underneath the Giza Plateau, where you go down an extremely dodgy, slightly probably dangerous ladder thing to go into where there's water under there, and hopefully work with some of that water and work with water inside the pyramids. And I'm very excited about this trip because the autist community are also saying just how important it's going to be for me and my work. And some have even said just to hold some of the containers where water used to be contained in, just to hold the vessel where water was contained in, will be able to bring in even more information, and that I'll find imagery that's much like the symbols that I have. I actually have what I call my own personal Rosetta Stone. It is an image that looks a lot like what I showed you, the information, but it has hieroglyphs in it. And it also has what looks like Arabic in it. And it also has something that looks like Sanskrit. And then it also has different coding. And I call it the Rosetta Stone because it has these multiple different languages. And one of the symbols in it is the symbol for water, which is the zigzag pattern. It has like two reeds, which is another, spells a letter, but it means a word in hieroglyphs. And in the Arabic, I've been speaking to my friends in Dubai that are helping to translate some of that. And so what we're starting to see, I see there's some letters there. It's like, what are we, what are we doing here? This is like, I feel like I am in a rapid, and all I can do is hang on for dear life.
Yeah, the Whitewater Rapids. But I mean, several eminent people believe that the Galactics built the pyramids, which is why they're full of constellation, zodiac signs in the king's chamber. It wasn't slaves rolling stones on, on wheels. So, and that they also acted as stargates. So if you are getting in contact with some of the vessels that used to hold the water, I could imagine that you're going to start to pick up a lot of very distant galactic information as well in that. So,
Uh,
I mean, this is just going to be, I can't imagine how exciting this trip is going to be. It's going to be extraordinary for you. And it's just a question, as you say, of keeping up with the information because it's coming in so quickly for you.
I mean, this has all happened in 8 weeks, and it is incredibly humbling. And they also talk about dew, morning dew.
Yeah.
My accent makes it sound like I'm saying something, so I'm trying to say DEW is what I'm talking about. And I would like to share what they've said about that, because I think it's often referred to as like the Holy Spirit, more kind of biblically around this. Um, and the question is, this is what I asked, what is dew? And the answers are shared telepathically through Melissa whilst on a Zoom call. And Noah says, it is the appreciation between God and nature. It's the moment when they have met, when others haven't been around. It's a peace offering to each other, and it's affirmation or agreement that today everything is perfect and we are here for each other. Brandon says, it's as though God kissed nature and nature gave back. It's a reminder that the two are still together. The shared information and the pureness of energy. It's the time when they get to meet and honor each other and see each other and note each other for their beauty before it's distorted by the gatherings of the day, like star-crossed lovers in the night, waiting for the sunset before anyone disrupts them, like a hidden marriage. And Daniel says, dew is the energy that holds the most light between God and nature.
This is so eloquent as well, Veda, isn't it? Incredibly eloquent. No miswords or nothing's, not proper grammar. I mean, it's just exquisitely expressed. You must feel as if
Yeah.
you're in a very different dimension working with the autists. Don't you? A very different dimension of consciousness all the time.
When I first got on a Zoom call and asked if anyone wanted to work with me, one of the young autists, he said to me, "Well, are you ready?" And oh my God, I can see why I was asked that question. And I said yes, and my darling, and but I had no idea what I was getting myself in for, and I'm so glad I said yes, because although it's a lot of work, of time, of energy, it is just the best, some of the most greatest work I will offer the world. we will all offer the world going forward. And so I'm hanging on for dear life. I don't know when I'm going to go down the waterfall and have some like gentle water. Hopefully next year sometime, maybe. Um, but it is important. And at the end of the day, water leads the way for me. So I will go where the waters take me. And this is where it's taking me now. Um, and I think that the heavenly water is coming. And this is essentially one of the things where we can be settled, we can feel happy that this is actually the way forward, and that we are reminded that we are divine, beautiful beings of water and light, and there is great purpose for us, each and every single one of us. So, yeah, I'm really glad that I've been able to share this with you, Pam, because
Oh, it's mind
it's
blowing.
been, yeah,
And
and I'm excited to share more. I've been so inspired actually because uh, I'm going to be on my book tour of the United States throughout May. And while I'm there, I within the last 5 weeks, I decided that I wanted to make a documentary about water and its many doorways to consciousness. And I'll be interviewing some of my amazing colleagues. And also, I'm going to be doing interviews with some of the autistic community that are wanting to be part of this and willing to travel and go through all of the things that are the material part of filming, to share their messages too. And we're looking to just get a trailer together. And then I'll do funding to try to get a bigger docu-series where we will focus on things like water and astrology, water and the ancient technologies, water and spirit, water and God, some really big topics, where we interview different people, but we have at the end not only microstalography as well, but the wisdom speakers, the words of the autistic non-speakers will be there too.
Veda,
I
I'm just so deeply grateful. You're a voice for water. You're a voice for the autists. You've helped us as humanity raise our consciousness, but you are now operating on a completely different level. And it's just thrilling. And I just really, and I think I speak for everybody who's going to be watching this from the bottom of my heart, just say thank you for your service to humanity, and thank you deeply for your service to the autists who now have a voice through you.
I feel very touched. Thank you, Pam.
It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. And I know that you always operate from the heart. And yeah, I'm just completely knocked out by this. It's just absolutely mind blowing. So this is going to be a very powerful video, and I never ever say this about videos I do, but please, anybody watching this, could you share it on? Because normally I never ask that, but in honor of the autists who've been so courageous in sharing their story with Veda, it would do them great service as well as the rest of humanity. It's a ripple effect in these paradigm shattering times. So. God bless
Thank you,
you,
Pam.
Veda. You are a wonderful soul. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today. And all of that material, pretty much, apart from 7 minutes, was new to me. So I am just blown away at this end. So sensational. Thank you so much, Veda.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Love to everyone out there. And I promised it would be different this time around. Thank you. Thank you so much, Veda.
Bye, Pam.
Bye for now.